Alright, so after my whole thing with the Big Hero 6 trailer, I kind of started thinking, what else could Marvel do in terms of well, Marvel and Disney could do as Disney cinematic movies for their own film franchise after Big Hero 6. And that kind of got my mind racing with a few ideas. Now, these are just my personal opinion, and these are just a few of what I could think of. And I think, truth be told, I think I've already done this video before, but might as well spruce it up a bit. So, kicking things off for what I think could make a great Disney animated film for Marvel and Disney as well is Big Hero 6 Power Pack. Now, excluding Franklin and Valerie Richards, Power Pack could easily work. You can't obviously use Franklin or Valerie because, well, they're under another license. However, having said that, though, I think you can still use the original 4 Power Pack members. You know, Alex and his brothers, and his brother and 2 sisters. You know, Lightspeed, Energizer, and Massmaster, and of course Alex himself, Zero G. And you can introduce some alien races. I can't remember Kofi's alien race, but they look like huge horse people. And you can introduce the Snarks, which were these big reptilian alien creatures, and they were the main enemies for the Power Pack. You could actually do that story, or an original story of how they got their original origin story, and you could do fun Marvel team-up movies, because that was kind of the thing for a lot of Power Pack, was they did these fun little team-up stories with all the Marvel heroes now and then. But you could do, honestly, I think you could work like this. It's like a younger version of The Incredibles. So yeah, I think this could honestly work. You could market this to the kids. And yeah, I think the Power Pack could easily work. I've been waiting for the Power Pack to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love the Power Pack. I think it's so fun and so adorable. But I think if anywhere it could work, because I don't see it. It might not work on live action, but animated wise, totally. You could even do it. Well, I don't trust Marvel's cinematic, their small screen animated stuff, so may as well let Disney take control of that. So maybe we could get a cinematic movie, animated film for the Power Pack. Up next is the Young Avengers. Yeah, the Young Avengers. I figured we're probably not going to see younger characters on the small screen, on the live. Maybe not in animated or Netflix. Well, live action, whether it be movie or small screen, aka Netflix, but maybe animated, the Young Avengers can get their start. Animated-wise, you have the Young Avengers have such a great pull to them. They have great popularity, and I think it would be very cool to see them on the animated screen, Disney-wise. Now, the big thing a lot of people might be saying, well, what about Wiccan and Hulkling's relationship? They're gay. I think Disney at this point would be open enough to do a gay relationship, because recently, again, I don't watch this show, but I heard online is that this show called Good Luck Charlie on Disney had Disney's first openly gay couple on there. Granted, apparently it was only a few minute scene, but yeah, it was just there, and nobody complained. So I think it would be a smart move for Disney to do something like that and really be. I think Disney at this point is really can be open about this and not make it weird or anything. Or you don't even have to acknowledge the relationship. You can just mention it here and there. Maybe you can play at it if Disney doesn't really want to do that. You can still have them in there. I mean, they didn't acknowledge that they were in a relationship really until around the second story arc of Young Avengers. You could honestly do like a variation of the first story arc with Kang the Conqueror, and I don't think you could do Avengers Disassemble, but you could still have Iron Man and Captain America in the story with Kang in there as well, and the whole story with Iron Lad. But yeah, I think the Young Avengers could do something like it could be a very good story. Disney's delved into some dark stuff, and a lot of the Young Avengers have some dark stories to them. The other big thing, though, now that I think about it, is that what about Hulkling? They can't use the Skrulls. They can use the Kree, but they can't use the Skrulls. So maybe they'll say that they'll change around and say Hulkling's like half Inhuman. Maybe they'll say he's half Inhuman if they go small screen. But on the other hand, yeah, they could pretty much use all the other characters like Vision, Vision 2.0, Stature, Kate Bishop, all the other characters. I think there's a I think there's a lot of marketing for Young Avengers. That's just me, though. up next is Nova. Now, as you can see, yeah, I'm using Sam Alexander. And you're probably wondering, well, why aren't you using Richard Rider? Well, here's the reason. I love Richard Rider as Nova. However, Marvel, I'm playing with the same mindset as Marvel right now. If they were to really do a Nova, if Marvel and Disney were to do a real Nova animated film, it would be Sam Alexander, because Jeff Loeb's the creative consultant now for both sides. And let's face it, the character's based off of his deceased son. So, and they're trying to get him that character popular in all the comics and in Ultimate Spider-Man. So, yeah, they would. So, logically speaking, logic would dictate that they would use Sam Alexander for a movie. And you know what? I've read stuff with Sam Alexander where he's pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, it's a young kid with all this great power. You could do the whole great power comes great responsibility story without using You can use that same Spider-Man motif for Sam Alexander, and you can do a lot of cool cosmic stuff. I think you could do the first story arc involving the Chitauri in there. You could even include a few cosmic characters, like him running into the Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe. I think, again, Sam Alexander has a lot of potential. And don't worry, I haven't forgot Richard Rider on here. He's, Rider's here. He's on this list, but I don't want to say where. That's later. But yeah, I think Sam Alexander is, logically speaking, if we were to get a Marvel animated film about Nova, Marvel would tell them, hey, Disney, there's this character called Sam Alexander. You should use them. He's Jeff Loeb approved. You don't know how hard it was to force myself to say that, people. Anyway, yeah, so, and again, I don't hate this character. I mean, yeah, he's created by Jeff Loeb and all that, but, I don't hate Jeff Loeb as much, because, I gotta give him credit. This character, he wrote it in honor of his deceased son. I can't really fault him for that, God bless him for that, so, I would. And again, I've read some good stuff with Sam Alexander, so, again, I'd be open to it. I'd be open to this movie. Okay, following that is Miss Marvel. Now, obviously, you can see right here I'm using the newest Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. And the reason why I use that is because it's a young character, you can market that to the kids, and I think, again, it's a good move for Disney to kind of branch out with with new characters. I mean, I don't think they have done an Arabic, Middle Eastern character. I think that would be a smart move for them, because, they've branched out ethnically into a lot of grounds with all their female Disney characters. I mean, we've got Native American, African American, Asian, so many different other ethnicities throughout the Disney characters. I think it would be a good move on Disney's part to finally kind of cross that boundary, and because again, even though I think it would be a good move to show that this character has a lot of potential. I mean, I haven't been able to read this comic book. I've been meaning to. God knows I've been meaning to. But I've heard nothing but really good things about this. I mean, it has a slow pace, but it has a slow but good pace to it. And I think it would be cool. And again, it's a character you can play up on the whole great power comes great responsibility, and you can use the Inhumans. I don't know if you could use Inhumanity in here. Maybe you could say she got her powers from people experimenting with the Terrigen Mist, and she was exposed to it. And you could involve the Inhumans in here, coming down to Earth and be like, "What the fuck you doing?" With our powers, and it's a character. Kamala is basically, and I'm probably butchering that name. Kamala is basically a superhero fangirl. She writes fan fiction. She dreams out being a superhero, and that's kind of what a lot of young people, even some of us to this day, still want to be. Some of us still want to be superheroes, and you can still admire that. And again, I think it would be a really good move for Disney to kind of express that in that sort of way. So in that regard, yeah, I'm totally for a Miss Marvel cinematic movie. She kind of plays on the whole, self-sufficient woman kind of thing a self-sufficient girl that we see a lot of the Disney princesses fall into. Not all of them, but still, a lot of them. She's got the Merida attitude to her. And, also the Elsa and Anna kind of persona to her as well. So I think she's very marketable for at least an animated cinematic movie. So yeah. Anyway, so let's move on. So next up on my my possible characters you could do for the Disney cinematic animated stuff, or whatever the hell I'm calling this, is the New Warriors. See, I didn't forget Richard. I didn't forget Richard Rider. So this one, I think it would be cool to... Again, it was pretty much the original New Warriors, and honestly, you could do either New Warriors lineup. You could do... I think the best way you could go is the original lineup, or the newest lineup that Christopher Yost is doing right now, but exclude Scarlet Spider because you can't do... Because you can't... They don't have the rights to to Kane, sadly. But you could still do that lineup without Kane, more or less. Or you could do the original lineup. I'm kind of skipping over a few other lineups that Marvel had, because those were kind of more like boring superhero sitcom shows that all got blown up and kickstarted Civil War, more or less. So yeah, I think, again, you could use either one of those lineups. I would say go with the original lineup, because again, they were all pretty young in their own right. You could have them all brought together by Night Thrasher, and they all fight Terrax. That was their first big villain. They all battled Terrax and united after that. And you could use characters like you could show Night Thrasher, Namorita, Speedball, Justice, Firestar, and the original Nova all together fighting this one big threat. Kind of like how it's like and again, that was kind of Marvel's marketing idea for New Warriors originally, was that they were the Marvel Teen Titans. So they were. So I think that could work pretty well, because they were pretty young when they first showed up. So I wouldn't mind them being young as they were in their first show when they first showed up. So yeah, I could totally see a New Warriors film. And regarding the other New Warriors lineup, you could do them as well. I'd be okay with either one of them. But if I had any personal say, I would go with the original lineup. But that's just me. And finally is the Runaways. Now, the Runaways have pretty much been in like development hell for a super long time for a movie. So you know what, Disney, you just make an animated film about them. Again, it would probably be one of their darker films, because if you've read Brian K. Vaughan's The Runaways, some real shit gets real is all I'm saying. Shit gets real. But I think it would be cool to kind of express those characters in this light. I think it would be cool to have a more grounded, and I use that term loosely, grounded young superhero film. Again, you could do. I would want this as an animated series. Honestly, though, like I said, I don't really trust Marvel's animated series marketing right now. So I'd rather put this in Disney's hands. I put this one last because this is the longest shot, because again, Disney would have to go super dark with this one. The whole race of giants that are going to wipe out mankind. The group of adults that are like time travelers and mutants and crime lords and all that. They're all, and also there's a lot of killing going on, a lot of killing. So. But I think it could work. I honestly think it could work with all these characters. I think a lot of these characters have a lot of room to breathe. And yeah, again, like I was saying, like, would they be willing to show that Carolina Dean is gay? I think they would be. I think Disney would have the balls to do that. At least this day and age. I think Disney nowadays would have the balls to do that. But that's just my opinion. Again, this one out of all of them is probably the longest shot out of all the characters or teams I've talked about. So yeah, that's kind of why this one's on the list. But I still have hope that it could work. I still have a lot of hope that it could work. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much my list. I really want to know what characters could you see Disney and Marvel working together on to do cinematic movies on. It could be superhero or heroine, a superheroine, or superhero team. Unfortunately, we can't get animated films of Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, obvious reasons. So everyone else is fair game, though, more or less. I'm really curious to know what you guys could come up with for this one. But anyway, once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and yeah, I'm out.